Hi, this is Catherine O'Neill, and today I'm going to talk about diversification in your investment portfolio. Maybe like you, I did not grow up with much guidance on money other than spend less than you earn and make sure you've saved for a rainy day. And that's because my parents didn't get much guidance from their parents either. My grandparents were farmers and tradespeople, and there was not enough money available at the end of the week to be able to pay for all their needs. So they made decisions on a weekly basis between how much was going to go for the textbook and how much was going to go for the clothing, and hopefully you'd get your textbook or clothing next week. My parents were professionals, and they were the first generation in my family to have money left over at the end of the week. And so they were the first generation who was able to save money. The guidance they got at that point, great guidance, put money in the stock market. So they did. And they developed a broad portfolio, different sectors, different regions, but all stock. When 2008 occurred and the stock market crashed, that was okay for me because I was young enough that I knew I had runway available, that it would eventually come back, which it did. And I didn't need the money right away. But it got me thinking, what if I did need the money right away? What if I wasn't a person who had time and something happened with the stock market? Do I have enough diversification? This was the question I had in particular in my early 50s. I happened to be having lunch with an old boss of mine, and she told me, as we were talking about things, about her 5 investment properties. I almost fell off my chair because I did not think regular people could have investment properties. I thought it was something only the ultra wealthy had. But as I came to become more educated, I realized this was a lot more common and a lot more mainstream than I thought. Here's a quote. Real estate provides investors with an ideal opportunity to diversify their assets due to the asset class's low correlation with conventional equity and bond instruments. Furthermore, there are several ways through which assets can be diversified within real estate, namely by sector, geography, or strategy. Research published in the Journal of Real Estate Research has shown that adding real estate to a mixed asset portfolio makes it possible to reduce portfolio risk by 10 to 20%, and that the optimal allocation of real estate is in the 15 to 25% range, end quote. So with that, let's talk about the 7 reasons why real estate should be included in a Canadian high net worth performers asset mix. Reason number 1, diversification. As we know, or as we have heard, by adding real estate to a stock portfolio, you decrease risk, potentially increase performance, and it is not correlated with the stock market performance, so you're evening out returns. Robert Kiyosaki in 1997 wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which brought real estate investing to the masses and helped people understand that it is a investment vehicle, not just something that you live in, but part of a portfolio. Reason number 2, the costs are paid for by the tenants. So this was, I guess, the biggest learning that I'd had, because for as far as I was concerned, real estate was all about appreciation. That's why you bought real estate. And debt was bad because debt is bad. And so you don't buy with debt. It was really an eye-opener for me to realize that when real estate is an investment, it's supposed to cash flow. The costs are supposed to be paid for by the tenant who is in the unit, whether it's commercial or residential. So insurance and mortgages and repairs and all that stuff, property tax, is supposed to be paid for by the tenant that's there. And there's supposed to be some money left over at the end. That was not something that I was expecting, and it moves it into being an asset, a cash flowing asset, and not a liability. The third reason for including real estate in a portfolio is leverage. One of the biggest differences between stock and real estate is that if you want $100,000 worth of stock, you have to have $100,000 and then you buy your stock. But with real estate, if you want $100,000 worth of real estate, you only have to put 20 or 30% down. The rest is paid for by other people's money. The bank, a financial company, you get a mortgage. Now, obviously you're paying this mortgage, but you don't have to come up with the money right away. And so with real estate, you can cover a lot more room through leverage. You can purchase $500,000 worth of effective investments with $100,000, $20,000 down in each case than with stock. And so that leverage, the taking on of good debt that is being paid off over time, not by you, but by the tenants who occupy the commercial or residential unit. That is one of the primary benefits of real estate and one of the reasons why it should be included in your portfolio. Reason number 4, cash flow. Going back to your tenants paying your costs, just like some stocks pay dividends. The idea in real estate investing is that there is cash flow. There is some money every month that can come back to the investor or perhaps is put in the corporation. So the costs on a monthly basis are being paid for by the tenant, as we had said, insurance, property tax, mortgage, etc. Perhaps some of the money is put aside in a capital expenditure account to be able to prepare for a rainy day when you've got to change the roof, have a new HVAC system, etc. But the rest then is money in the corporation that is cash flow to be used. And that turns this into an asset, which is one of the things you're trying to do in your investment portfolio, accumulate assets. Reason number 5, long-term growth, also known as appreciation. So although I had said earlier, and it's still true, the main reason and the main focus with real estate is cash flow and getting all the costs paid for by the tenant, there is the potential for appreciation. Not the crazy appreciation that we have seen over the past couple of years, 10, 15%, which I think is unprecedented in the Canadian market, but a more regular cash flow. And so I see real estate investors putting into their calculations 2, 3, 4% per year, something very modest. And this is another way that real estate, like stocks, are helpful to have into your portfolio because they do appreciate slightly over time. You just can't count on how much. Reason number 6, forced appreciation. Now, what is forced appreciation? Well, you'll hear people talk about how they bought a fixer-upper. Similar to that, real estate investors will buy a property that needs a lot of renovations. So it's undervalued for what it could be. And so strategic renovations, kitchens, bathroom, flooring, paint, doing these things helps raise the value of the property because they're new and they don't have to be redone for another 5 or 10 years. And so when you get the property appraised, it will appraise higher. And these strategic renovations can help you force appreciation into a property so that as you come to refinance and get your money out, you will be able to get more of your money out. And ideally, the money that you put in through the renovations, you get more money out because of the improved appreciation. And the last reason that I'm going to talk about, because housing is so timely in this market, is population growth and the amount of housing that we have or don't have in Canada right now. We don't have enough housing for the population we have today. But our population increases every year, both through having kids and also through immigration. All of these things are good. I'm not going to comment on the government policies, but just to say, as you think about real estate in your portfolio, and is this a good idea, we are probably going to have to build housing for decades in order to be able to catch up with the population that we have or will have in Canada. And so there is very little, no chance that at some point, people are going to say, I don't need that house that is in your portfolio, that apartment building, that warehouse. They will very much need that and so population and the need for housing is on your side as a real estate investor in Canada. There are other benefits for owning real estate as part of your investment portfolio. You can write the costs off of your taxes, etc. But for me, the big thing is the diversification. Having stocks which have very little correlation to the real estate market, and there can be other aspects that you include in your portfolio as well. But to me, reducing the risk of the portfolio, possibly increasing the returns. That's something that I think is worth thinking about. I certainly took action, bought a couple of real estate properties, could very well buy more. I'm happy with the cash flow, even though it's tighter now with the interest rates than a number of years ago, but still a good investment. If you wanted to learn more about diversifying your portfolio, different ways that you can look at your investment portfolio, I have a free guide. If you want to click on the button below, very happy to be able to send it to you, if this helps in some way for you and your family. Are you ready to learn about the number one way that most people use to be able to create wealth for themselves and their family? If so, please feel free to click on the link below to be able to get a free guide that will give you some more information about how to diversify your investment portfolio in Canada. Thank you.